Hello everyone, this is Roman, Amazon seller and promoter of a proper Amazon metric processor. And this is yet another video slash tutorial slash explanations slash mumbling about the Amazon and the e-commerce universe overall. I spent quite significant time on X searching of what people are talking about Amazon selling and e-commerce business. And there are lots of complaints about Amazon, how it treats its sellers, and there's a rumor that people are shifting to TikTok shop instead of Amazon, to which I will laugh about. Of course, it's not going to happen by a significant margin, but so I got an idea to explain the nature and the perception of the cost of goods sold that you actually sell on the marketplace, and how the proper Amazon metric processor can help to tame and understand the COGS of the unit that you sell. All right, what I scouted here. First of all, proper Amazon metric processor distinguishes COGS into two major categories. There's another category, but I disregarded this for the sake of simplicity. The categories is the payment to the supplier, is this portion, and payment for the shipment, custom, delivery, and all of the costs attributed to actually moving the units from supplier to fulfillment center. The margins, I mean the proportions between those two categories, they varies between of the products. In our particular case, about 65 to 75% we pay to the supplier, and the rest of the amount is most likely goes to freight forwarders or delivery guys. And so you have two major categories that basically splits your cost of goods into two sections. And I scattered like a little example here, so I would like us to walk through it. So for example, you deliver 1,000 pieces for $10 each. You're a new seller, you're trying to flood the market with your amazing whatever. So you invested roughly 10,000. Not roughly, exactly 10,000, and your cost of goods sold of $10 has been split into $7 to the supplier and $3 to the freight forwarder, right? So like 70-30. Then you sell good, and you slowly your inventory is depleting, and you come at a certain point and you need to replenish your inventory. So when you have 100 units left in your warehouse, you decide to deliver 500 units. Why? Because there is a cash gap. You wait money from Amazon. You don't have much money from Amazon dispersed to your account. Why? Because Amazon is a juggernaut that has its own rules, and they defer the payments to you. So you couldn't deliver 1,000 as you initially did. So you deliver like 500, right? But because the quantity is less, most likely what's gonna happen is you're gonna be charged more per unit for the freight cost, right? Cheaper by the dozen, right? The more you ship, the cheaper it will get. And it works the other way around. The less of the amount you deliver, the more per unit cost you will incur, right? So you got your $11 per each, which is comprised of $7, initial $7 as a previous one, because you have your supplier, you got a contract for 10 whatever years that you will buy your item for $7. But since you deliver much more expensive, now it's $4 for to get the unit to the final destination. So you invest about like 5,500 of the new inventory, right? And overall, since you had like 100 units left, you would have 600 units. So initially it was at $10, then it was $11. How does accounting work, right? What would you do? Like, what's the cost of this 600 units? Unfortunately, most of the sellers will not give a rat's ass and just account like for 11 and just forget about it. Like, okay, now it's 11. Okay, next time I'll deliver. We'll see how it goes. But if you use it properly by using proper Amazon metric processor, that's actually what's going to happen. So you take your residual $100, multiply by COG that you incurred, $7 for the cost, $3 for the freight, plus 500, 7 plus 4. So you got this, and you divide it by the 600. So you got 6,500 divided by 600, and eventually your COG would be 1083, which is good. Yeah, it's even less than 11. Now, what's up with that? Like, so what? So the point is, there are two ways to approach this amount. Like, there are two perceptions about this amount. You either can take a base of a cost that you incur, like your supplier cost is a base, and they calculate the residual real amount of the freight. So for example, we take 1083 and thinking like, okay, the COGS was 7, like what can I do about it? So it was 7. So essentially, the per unit freight was not 4, it was 383, right? Wrong. You have to do it the other way around. You have to take the freight cost as a base, and then you calculate your final COG. And I'll explain you why in a minute. So you see the same logic. This is like both of them true. Both approaches, wrong or right, are true. Like everything in life, right? Like there's no good or bad. So, but like from the seller's point perspective, from the perception of the person who is actually producing the product and giving the goods to the market that has a long-term useful value in it, you have to take the service of the freight as the base to calculate your eventual cost of goods sold of your residual amount in the inventory. You could ask me like, why, what the hell? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why does it matter? It matters if you think it through, meditate about it, read about economics, and eventually you'll find out like you'll get to know this beautiful formula. It's GDP. Everybody knows what is GDP, like gross domestic product, but nobody actually think it too much about it. So that's why, to answer that question, let's go deep into that route. Okay, so GDP comprised of Jesus, is this consumption? Yeah, I think it's consumption, investment, government spending, and net export. KIGNEX. It's easy to remember. KIGNEX. Consumption, investment, government spending, net export. Let's go into details. Investment is the investment of for the capex, for the plants, factories, warehouses. So basically the investments of the capital investments to create something. So for example, if, I don't know, the chip producer tries to establish the new facility in Arizona, there will be investment. So it's out of scope of the seller's business. Government spending, obvious, out of scope of seller's business. It's just how much government spend to their government needs, right? And net export is essentially export of the country minus input to the country. Sellers kind of like affect the net export in some way, because I don't know the proportion, right? But there are many sellers who are importing goods into the country, so they affect in this section, right? And they essentially reducing the next net export. So if you're increasing the import, if the country increasing the import, the net export becomes lower and lower. Actually, if you think about it, that's why they were Trump taxes, Trump customs were implemented, just to have a little bit restriction on the import, just reduce the import and get more money through this consumption. Consumption is the total amount of goods and services in an economy, like how much we spend every day. It doesn't matter whether you buy a coffee or whether you like bought a cleaning, right? Goods and services, everything is included. So essentially what's happening when you import goods and you pay the custom declaration costs, they incurred in your freight forwarder bill, they increase the service section of the same formula. So by reducing the import, Trump taxes increase the service. So I think it's like zero effect. But anyway, that's not the topic of our video. The topic of our video is that in a modern economy, in a like post-industrial countries like United States, Japan, Europe, the beauty of the consumption is that services are much more bigger than goods. Much more bigger, way bigger. That's why it's called post-industrial countries. So they provide more services in the GDP than goods, meaning that back to our formula, because in our formula we have the same, right? This is the goods, this is services. And by fixing the services, by have a perception that you're fixing the services, you eventually, lowering the goods, meaning that by more delivery and by more replenishment, you essentially can manage it and lower and increase your final margin. Because you can argue like, oh, what the hell? Like it was $7, now it's like 6, 8, like 20 cents. 20 cents on a piece, right? But this was 1,000 pieces. It was your one shipment. How many shipments will you do within a year? Let's say 12. 12 shipments for 1,000 pieces. It's a 12,000 pieces. And if you save 20 cents on every 12,000 pieces, essentially what you're getting, how much is it? Like 2,400 profit. Like right from doing that, doing nothing, but just proper calculation. That's it. You didn't do anything. So essentially you saved like 2,400 within a year. But it's just a one example that you like delivering 12,000 pieces a year. What if you delivered 100,000? Now it gets interesting, right? So what I was talking is that you saving on the margin, and this 20 cents might look nothing, but if you look at the grand scale of things, essentially it will be like a significant amount. And it's empowering. You know your drill, you know how to do it. The last part that I wanted to show you about these two approaches is that there are not many leverages, like why we need to take the service part as the base for the COGS, because there are not many leverages to lower the freight. Because essentially, what is a freight? A freight is how well you manage the flow between money, document, and inventory. It's like how smooth is the process is, how fast you get a decision, how precisely you calculate the future FBA shipment so that you will not bite in your butt for the increased delivery cost that you couldn't deliver more units. That's why you need to take the service part as a base and recalculate the good size of the COG, because this part is essentially manageable, but the leverage of the manager is super tight, super small, especially with the AI era that we're living in. Propamp.ai is doing this for you, to be honest. It finds you quotes, it calculates the amount, how much you need to deliver. It makes the payment calendar for you, so you will kind of know how much you need to order and recalculate the payments. But it does everything. It's nothing. This is the beauty. This is the beauty. Why? Because if you're a seller, a good seller, I'm not talking about like arbitrageurs, drop shippers, and other, bon voyage guys. We're not for you. We're like for proper sellers who know what they're doing. They're proud of their goods, right? So if you're proud of your good, you need to dismantle your COG eventually, because sooner or later you'll just realize, okay, I deliver 1,000, then I deliver 5,000, then I deliver 6,000, and at some point you'll just come to your supplier and say, okay man, like let's do some research. Give me your ball of materials. What kind of a packaging we're using? What kind of a replacement parts that we can implement for the final product? Why are you gonna ask this? Because the little incremental thing, saving on the little incremental thing, will give you a grand save in the long run. For example, you sell a product, you know you just lowered your COG, then you come to your supplier saying, okay, look, the unit economics is positive. Give me a ball of materials to produce this product. He gives you the bill of materials, and you see what is your product comprised of, like all of the counterparts. I don't know, whatever you sell, cheese grinder, right? The plastic parts, the packaging, the size of the packaging, and you dismantle the full COG by little margin, so you can eventually will save. Why is this important? I will talk in another video. Because of the price elasticity, you cannot just simply increase prices all the time, because people will stop buying it. So you need to control your COG, you need to save on your COG, because money saved equals to money earned. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Again, hit the like, send this video for Amazon seller who is interested. down in the description, I have a 3-month trial of Propamp.ai. We have MCP server, the server that can like link this all together in your store and explain you stuff if you don't understand much, which happens, which I understand, because you're like professionals for the product, not for the like finance documents and shipment and all of that. That's why we have MCP server that will help you a lot. All right, have a blessed day. Love you all. Bye.